Hey everyone, welcome to the sixth podcast of Nameless Comics Podcast. And as can see here with us today, we have Tadam Gyadu over here with us, in our very own India's Marvel artist, who's most iconically known for doing Spider-Man India and has done some amazing work with Yale Dream Creations and now has his own creator-owned project with Blacksheep Comics, who has their maiden project called Technicolor Lovers coming that has already come out actually, and they're working on future projects. So, first of all, thank you for joining us today, Tadam.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you, Tadam. Like I remember meeting you at Comic Con for the first time, and that was awesome. But it was for a very short period of time. But now we can spend some time and get to know your origin story as well as your future plans as well.
I'm excited to talk about it. Always happy to talk about comics and talk with fellow comic book fans. So yeah, very excited.
Yeah.
So that way, Pranay bhai has one up to me because Tadam and we have been online friends for about what 5 6 years now, but we have never actually met. So that way, you are ahead of me.
Same. I
Yeah,
mean,
thanks to Mumbai Comic Con.
same. I met him at Bangalore Comic Con, and actually from there our touch continued because I had asked him to give like a commission artwork, which took some time because it was a creative process to. It was a totally new thing, but what I had asked him to do, so it took a while. So there was a bit of talking back and forth, and that's how things went for me until here.
Yeah, I
I hope
actually
even one of my commission work is also in progress. I hope. I'm not sure if he has started yet. Let's see.
Oh, I'm going to start on it very soon, man. I have the initial thing ready, and I just have to ink it.
Okay, okay. Looking forward to it. I still have the printed one by my side. I don't know if I should show this or not. No, it's fine. It's
it's not
faded because
uh,
of that.
Background.
Yeah, that Zoom
I can't
meeting.
wait one to show you, man.
No,
background is blurred. Nah? Yeah,
I guess it's best to show the original final version rather than this printed out stuff.
I'm looking
I
forward to
have
that.
mine here.
I should also got
That's
mine.
very interesting. I love working on that one.
Yeah, because it strikes a chord, and you will know what I'm talking about when it is revealed.
Yeah.
So let's keep it a hush hush thing for now.
Right. Right. So I mean,
Speaking about Hush, I have got Batman and Catwoman drawn by Tadam. So I had met him for that.
एक दिन एक अलग सा पॉडकास्ट करेंगे जहाँ हम तीनों का बस टर्डम का कमीशन आर्टवर्क के बारे में ही बात करेंगे हम.
Of course, of
That
course.
that can be done.
Yeah. I'll start with the most basic question. Where did your journey begin? Your artistic journey actually start from?
Okay, so I think um, my not so secret origin is like stumbling upon this Life of Buddha books that my grandfather used to have. Because I mean my mother and like my paternal grandfather, they are Buddhists, right? So they had these books which were mostly about Buddha. And I remember they had two books, I think, which were like titled Life of the Buddha Part 1 and Part 2. And they had these very beautiful watercolor and ink illustrations in them depicting the life of Lord Buddha. So as a kid, I think I might be 5 6 years old that time. I don't remember my exact age, but I didn't even get a like slate by that time. So I did not have a notebook or anything, but I used to like to go through those books and then try and copy those illustrations on our on the backyard of our house, of my grandpa's house actually. So there was
Hmm.
no grass, it was only mud, not mud, like soil and all. So I used to like with a stick, I used to try and copy those, and I think that's where me as an artist started like drawing. And then after that, I joined school in kindergarten. I got those alphabet books, right? And we had planes and apples, bats, balls, all that in those books. And I used to copy those as well. I used to love drawing helicopters and aeroplanes, somehow for some reason, I don't know. And then I think when I was in class three, I found my very first comic book in a gift shop while like they used to play this serial called Son Pari. So I
Yeah.
did not have any cable TV at my house. I only had DD1, DD National. So, I used to bunk my classes along with a couple of my friends to come to that gift shop and watch Sonpari. So one day I came there and I saw some books, very interesting looking books, and then I checked them out, and then later I came to know that okay, these are called comic books, and they have great illustrations in them. So I got one that was a Raj comic, Nagaraj comic called
Yeah.
Soja Nagaraja, and I read the book and instantly fell in love with comics, and it had both two things that always interested me, that is stories and art. And comics are like a perfect marriage of both of those things, right? So I think that's where everything began for me.
Fantastic, fantastic. Like I think Garage Comics has been a lot of our first Hindi comics as well. Like for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me as well, Raj Comics was one of the earlier books that I read. Tell me, how did you get into the whole comic book world? Like your first gig?
Mm. Okay, so I think around class 9 or 10, like I was uh, me and my friends, like classmates, we started talking about which career we are going to choose. And I think right around that time, I saw Three Idiots also. I don't remember, maybe. Then, this whole follow your passion thing was like, was the buzz back then. And then I used to think, okay, this is my passion, like drawing and comics and all that. And someday I want to do it, but I don't know how to do it. And then I passed class 10, and then my family told me to like take science and become an engineer or a doctor maybe. Then for that I went to Assam. Then that's when that's when like I joined all these Facebook groups, right? Which used to like have a lot of fans gathering in those groups, and then talking about comics, discussing their favorite characters and all. And I mean, I think that's when I really got exposed to internet and like social media as a whole. And then I came to know, okay, like I used to chat with some artists, and then I used to talk with them about how to get into comics. How can you like make it as a comic book artist? How can you like what you have to study and all that. So a lot of people told me like you have to do fine arts and all that if you want to become a comic book artist. But then also it's not super necessary, because if you just know how to draw, and then you have good enough samples, then you can get work. So that's when I started like creating samples. I think I was in class 11. I used to do a lot of fan arts, and I did not know like you had to draw sequential pages as to show as samples, right, for comic books. So I used to do a lot of fan arts, and I started sending those to publishers. I remember I used to like um, just cold message and cold email a lot of publishers, especially Sanjay Gupta sir, because Raj Comics was a major publisher back then, and I like always wanted to work at Raj Comics. So I used to text Sanjay Gupta sir a lot, and I think right around that time, Chariot Comics, who are not publishing anymore. They were very active. They were coming. They came up with the very like well-received series, Brika, and I think Orange Radius was another publisher back then. They had this character called
Parshu.
yeah, for sure. So I used to text all of them and send them my work continuously. Yeah, and I think right around that time, somebody in comic book groups only saw my work, and they were also like planning their own comic book. So they asked me if I would like to collaborate, and
Yeah.
I said, yeah, why not? So that book never came out. I mean, I couldn't even finish the project because it was a long, I think 60, 70 pages, and I had studies to do on the side. So yeah, I think that was my first professional gig. But if you can call it professional, I mean it was very amateur. But then I got paid for it. Like it was very less, but still I got paid for it. So that's how it started. And then from there, like I just kept doing samples and kept showing my work to different publishers, and then my like the proper breaking into the industry happened back in 2015, I think, when I just crossed class 12, and then I decided to take a year break, to like just recalibrate myself and plan what I'm going to do next, whether I want to like continue in science or take art, all that. And that's when uh I sent more samples to Raj Comics, and then one day I get a call from Sanjay sir, and then he says like, hey, would you like to do a book with us and all that. So and I did this book called Adrishya.
Akhri Rakshak series, one part
Yeah,
of Akhri Rakshak series.
yeah. So yeah, that is my first gig, I think, like professional, proper comic book that got published, and I never looked back.
Fantastic.
Nice.
No, I think your work was also there in the Damned from Chariot Comics.
Yeah. That I think that one was second or third of my published work.
Uh,
Yeah, that one I
so,
did when I moved to Delhi.
so Adrishya Shadyantra was your first big break in comics industry.
Yeah, if you can call it big. I mean, I think
No, this was pretty big.
Raj
After all,
Comics,
Raj Comics, right?
yeah, Raj Comics, and I mean, it was being circulated nationwide, so yeah, can call it big, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So we came across your first introduction to comics, your first big break. So your next big break came when you started working with Marvel Comics. So it is just for a trivia for budding artist. How did this come to be? Like you reached out to Marvel or they picked you out? Like what exactly went down?
So Marvel is like the most recent big break, I would say. The second big thing that happened for my career was Codename Alpha, I feel, because that one like
Uh-huh.
really put me in the radar
Yeah.
of a lot of comic book fans. So people kind of appreciated that book, and the kind of writing which I had. I think that was something that really put me in the in front of the comic book fans. Talking after that, like around the time when I was doing Codename Alpha, I felt like okay, I think I am now kind of ready to send my work to international publishers. So uh, I started getting all these email IDs from the publishers' websites and all that, and like I started emailing my portfolio just like I did before to get into the Indian comic book publishers, right? So same thing I did with the international ones as well. But then I was not getting any response from them because I'm sure like they get a lot of submissions, and if your work doesn't like stand out, I don't think they respond, and they don't have the capacity or time to respond anyway. So what happened? As you know, like I'm very active on social media, especially Instagram. So I keep sharing my work. So this art representative, right? There are people who represent artists, and like they take your work to publishers, and like they make the process easier for you in a way. So one of them called this agency called Bustido Entertainment. They found me, and then they got in touch with me, and and asked if I would like to collaborate with them, or maybe I texted them first. I don't remember now. So, but then this collaboration happened, and then they took my samples to Marvel, and uh, I mean, they needed an artist with a similar style that I have, I think. So they had a project open for me, and then that's how it happened. And then I did 7 or 8 pages for Ghost Rider first. That was my first work for Marvel, and then I think they liked my work enough to like offer me a Spider-Man India. Yeah, that's how it happened.
Nice.
Awesome.
Pretty inspiring, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It's like you try and it happens, huh? I mean, like you need to keep trying,
Mm.
give it your best, and like because you're doing it with all your dedication, things kind of work out. It's like a
Yeah,
superhero
I
story.
feel, yeah, I feel, anyone who is trying to make it in the creative field, right? Be it a singer, an actor, or a dancer, or a musician, or a visual artist like myself, a comic book artist. I think we need to keep trying and not give up, even if like that means like doing a day job and then doing it as a side hustle, your creative thing, right? And keep doing it until you get a proper gig, until you can make it your full time thing, right? Because if you don't try, then opportunity is not going to, like, most probably the opportunity will not come to you. You have to keep knocking at different doors, and you never know which one opens for you and which one, like, just uh, gives you a project that can, like, take you everywhere. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, like, if you don't try, then how are you going to get the reward for it? Like, you need to try, you need to make the attempt. Only then will good things start happening. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Waiting for luck is not going to do anything. You will have to
Yeah.
put in the work and be patient and consistent as well.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't keep trying, I think, only luck is not going to do anything for
Mm.
you. Like, if someday the opportunity comes knocking and you're not ready for it, if you're not trying, because uh, I think somewhere on the internet, comic book projects are floating around. You just need to, like, somehow be get into their radar, and then they will hire you.
Yeah.
Right.
Since your first major gig was with Raj Comics, and you worked with Indian Comics or the Elite Dream Creations for code names as well, and then you've now worked with Marvel. Like, how was it working with Marvel, with their creative team, and like you felt any differences working with creative teams here in India versus there?
Um, okay, so there were no basic differences, because I was getting a script from Marvel the same way I used to get script from Indian writers or Indian publishers. I think the one big difference that I really felt was the timeline of the project, because Marvel, as you know, like, they have to put out the books on a monthly basis,
Mm.
and that means, like, the artist has to draw the book on a monthly basis, right? You have to draw like 22 pages each month, and if you don't make the schedule, then the book won't be out on time, right? And Indian artists, I feel, are a bit spoiled in that case, because Indian publishers are kind of loose with their timelines, I feel.
Mm.
Uh, and that somehow, like, I was used to that, right? I was not used to working on a very tight schedule. So I think that kind of took me some time. I took some time to get used to the monthly schedule, like doing 22 pages a month. Um, yeah, so that was the biggest
Mm.
difference that I found. I feel. Other than that, the creative thing and all that, it was pretty smooth. I would say it was the drawing part, the creating part, right? I feel it was. mm, a lot smoother than the Indian comic book publishers, I feel, because uh, there was not a lot of feedback that I was getting on my art. For Indian comics, since we have a lot of time on our hands, we can, like, scrutinize through the panels, and if there are any tiny mistakes, we can rectify them. But for Marvel, they largely focus on the storytelling aspect of things, right? If the story is being told in a good way, I mean, the readers are not getting confused, then they're fine. If there is, like, a tiny anatomical error here and there in the drawing, they don't mind it.
Right.
That's interesting. I thought it would be the other way around.
No, because if they keep nitpicking, right? So first thing, they usually don't hire artists, like, whom they have to, like, spoon feed, right?
Train.
Yeah. So they usually hire people on hire they usually hire artists on which, like, they can trust. they know that okay, this guy can handle the book, and we won't get bad art or anything. And if they somehow get bad art, then they would rather not hire that person anymore.
True, true.
Makes sense. Saves a lot of time. Very corporate sounding though, but yeah, it's fine. This is how the world functions.
So Marvel is a big company, man, and they need to be on schedule. I think they
Mm.
can't really run after artists or writers or creators like they can't nitpick things
Mm.
a lot.
Mm.
And I feel the nitpicking part mostly happens for the story, you know, when the
I
writer
see.
is writing the script and all that. If the story is good, then they just hire artists who like suit the story, who have a art style that suits the story, and then they just let the artist be and do their own thing. I
Mm.
feel creatively that really liberating because we can try a lot of stuff as long as the we are not breaking the character in any way.
Mm,
Right.
true.
I.
Actually, my next question is kind of pertaining to what you were just saying. Like when you're making comics, there is a writer who gives you the story. You have to do the art. There is inking that needs to be done. There is lettering that needs to come. But for a lot of people who are, not that aware of how comics are made, like, can you explain how the process is for making a comic book? Like, what happens? Does the entire story come to you in the beginning? Then you decide that this is how I will, like how a director visualizes the film. This is how it's going to be. I'll take a top shot, or I will have a, splash page. Then when does the lettering come, or does the lettering actually come beforehand? That process, if you can, tell us.
That's a great question, actually, Pranay, because I love talking about the process. And I feel that readers should be more aware about the process, because it makes the book that much more fun for them to read. So, the usually the standard practice in that goes into creating a comic book is the script is the writer sends in a pitch to the editors, and then editors select the pitch whether they like it or not. They commission the writer to like write the story and then or write the script. The script meaning it's broken down in pages, how many pages will be there, and then it's broken down in panels, how many panels per page will be there, and the panel description, the captions that are going to be in the comic book, also the dialogue, right? So then that one like goes through what do you say? The editor goes through the script and then they
Okay.
approve it and then they send it to the artist. And then the artist goes through that is me, goes through the script and then based on the script we do layout or rough thumbnails or whatever you call them. So we just do stick figures or very rough drawing to plan out the page, how it's going to look. Suppose the writer has written like Spider-Man is swinging through the skies of New York, right? So then the writer could be like super specific which angle he wants, which the size of the panel, and what kind of pose he wants Spider-Man in, and all that. So that varies writer to writer. Some writers they like to be a little open with the visual.
Hmm.
Some writers they like to like just visualize everything when they're writing, and then they want the artist to like just put it out in an image format, right? So then depending on that, I would read the script and then I usually what happens, the script is kind of loose and it lets the artist to like interpret and come up with a visual that they feel is suitable for the to tell the story well. And then they would just decide the angle, the composition, and all of that during the layout phase. And if they want to make any tweaks to the panel, like suppose the writer has written 5 panels, but the artist feels the same thing could be told in 4 panels, or maybe we need to add another panel, then that one I'll do that during the layout phase, and then I'll send the layout to the writer and the editor, and then they will
Hmm.
go through it, and then if it fits well with the story and goes well and everything is fine, then they will give me a thumbs up, and then I'll go and then do the pencils, and then once they see the pencils and if they are okay, then I will go on and ink them, ink the pencils, and then right after the pencils are inked, Then I would send those final ink black and white files to the colorist. The colorist will color them, and then after the color is done, then the letterer will add the letters, you know.
Okay.
And yeah, so usually, so when I feel the coloring and the uh, inking or the drawing part of comics, I think it's a little tricky when you work in Indian comics for that because, as I said, there is a lot of scrutiny, right? Because we have a lot of
Mhm.
time in hand and we can,
Yeah.
take our own sweet time to make the thing like as good as it possibly can.
Mm.
But for big publishers like Marvel, I feel it's a little easier because they don't, they don't bug you for like tiny changes. As long as you're telling the story in a good way and then the reader is not getting confused and it's all good.
Great, great.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yeah,
It's a very
very
elaborate
insightful.
process.
Yeah. I had seen this one tutorial of Jim Zub on YouTube where he was talking about the exactly how you write comics or pitch it to writers. And so because I think Tadam knows because I've tried to, so I've sent him some of my work and he's probably fed up with the times I've pestered him to read it. But that was the basis from which I tried writing. So it is actually, that is where I thought that, when you make movies, obviously, director or the person who writes the story has a vision and they execute it normally. But when it comes to comic book, right, the writer has a vision and the artist has a vision. So it's actually two directors for one project. So that collaboration in that sense makes actually comic book writing unique.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely.
True.
So coming back to some Indian news and stuff, recently, not very recently, in the month of February, there was this Webs Summit, right? And
Yeah.
Tadam, you along with Vijay, you won the place in the Super 10 professional category for
Yeah.
The Guard, the story.
Mhm.
So tell us a little about your experience at the Web Summit and what was the little process that you both of you stumbled upon while choosing Major Shaitan Singh as your character that you want to explore in the story.
So like Indian Comics Association, who organized the Comics Theater Championship. They had, I think, five, six themes on which we had to base our story, right? One of them was the Indian Armed Forces. Um,
Yes.
so they had folktales as well, and mythology was there, I think. But then me and Bijoy, both of us agreed that we would like to do something based on the armed forces, and we did not want to do like a fictional story. We wanted to talk about real heroes because our armed forces, is full of real life heroes, right? Right? There are so many stories of bravery and valor that we don't need to add anything there. So we were just researching and we were trying to find out which like interesting events that happened, right? And which are like not talked about a lot. So we felt that the Battle of Rezangla feature that involved Paramveer Chakra Major Shaitan Singh is like very interesting and also we feel that it has not been talked about much. Holy Cow Entertainment has a character named Shaitan Singh, but then it kind of is not.
Fictional.
Yeah, it's a fictional character. So we felt that we should talk about his story because it's such a great. I mean, he was such a brave soldier. I don't know if you guys know about the incident, but the Battle of Rezangla was, I think during 1952 when India and China were at war. So back then, uh, the 13th Kumaori Regiment that was, I think, called a company or the troops of the troops of Major Shaitan Singh. They were deployed at this place in Ladakh called Rizangla. It's a valley,
Yeah.
and like they had to like stand guard there and see if anybody tries to cross the border or something. And then there were 120 of our soldiers, the Indian Armed Forces, who were posted there. And then they were at a disadvantage there because they were like heavily outgunned and outnumbered when the Chinese army attacked on them. I think there were like 3,500 Chinese soldiers against 120 of our soldiers. And then these people, Major Shaitan Singh, they uh, got orders to retreat, but then Major Shaitan Singh decided, no, we are going to stand our ground and we'll fight them. And then they ended up killing some 1,300, 1,500 Chinese soldiers, just 120 of them, and most of them could not make it out from the incident. It's very unfortunate. Only 4 or 5 of them survived, I think. The rest, all of them were martyred. So yeah, I think so. Such a you know gut wrenching yet brave
Yeah.
story of bravery and wisdom. So we sort of talking about it, telling a story on this. Yeah. And
Mhm.
coming to the Weave Summit, I feel it's a great initiative from the government of India to highlight different creative fields that are happening in our country, and I'm glad that they chose to include comics as well.
True, true.
Unfortunately, they decided to go with AI comics as well, but then, I think it's
Yeah.
all right because outsiders sometimes they are not very aware of how what kind of damage AI is actually doing to the creative industry. But it's all right, I guess. Overall, it's a big win for Indian comic industry, I feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
100%. And in India, I mean, we know that comics are very, very niche. We've like on this same podcast, we've spoken about it earlier that how very few people are actually into comics. So, government taking this initiative and trying to bring it into the main pop culture, that's a great initiative, undoubtedly. Very, very happy about.
Yeah, and Pranay, I feel that there are readers in our country, and there is an audience for comics. I feel because imagine there are crores of people living in our country, and wouldn't there be 0.01% of them who are interested in comics, and that would be people in lakhs, right? Like at least two,
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
lakh people would be there. So I feel there is a gap between the product and the consumer, right? There is a gap between the publishers and the readers. So that gap
Yeah,
is
I, I,
some.
I believe the marketing needs to be better, and these readers they are preferring Marvel, DC, and manga over Indian comics. So Indian comics need to bring their own USP to make sure they stand at a level ground when it comes to sales. That's what they are
Yeah,
not doing. Most of the publishers are not doing, but they are trying. And now with the aid of government of India, I hope things will get better in the near and distant future.
yeah.
Let's see.
Definitely. Yeah. So just today actually on Instagram we saw you that you were working on Druk, your next project, and I was actually drawn to it when I got technical levels. The last page there was this art for Druk, which I assuming is going to be the cover art of the book when it does come out. But it was enough to catch good attention. So I want to know, just could you tell us a little about Druk and maybe when could we see it hit the market?
Okay. So Druk is a passion project of mine, and I had the idea. I think I had been working on the idea of Druk since my college days, and I tried writing it myself, but then I'm not a, I don't, I mean, I don't have any experience writing comics, right? So, when me and Bijoy collaborated on Codename Alpha, I felt like, I had found the perfect writing partner for my project, and I really admire the way Bijoy writes, the kind of ideas he has, and the places he takes his stories to, right? So I felt I should collaborate with Bijoy on this one, and then me and Bijoy had also talked about doing creator-owned comics, right? So I took this concept to Bijoy and then shared it with him and said, see if you like it and if you want to write it. And then fortunately, he found it interesting and then decided to work on it. So then, he added his own flair to the story. So it's basically a coming of age story set in the backdrop of Arunachal Pradesh and Bangalore. But it's kind of also a globe-trotting adventure where we have a mix of martial art and historical fiction and some culinary art peppered in here and there. So that's all I can talk
Interesting.
about the story for now.
It's like a very, very wide variety of things, martial arts and food. Aha. Like, I don't know. I mean, on a different topic, if you guys have seen this anime called Food Wars, it's quite funny and amazing. There's no martial art in that. It's just cooking competition between chefs, how they try to kind of one up each other. So, like when you said this,
So
the first word
basically, an
which
anime of Master Chef.
yeah, for me, there are two things that came to me. Like, first was that there was a very old movie, Bruce Lee movie, where he actually goes abroad. I think he goes to Italy, and there are those mob bosses who are trying to
Yeah, yeah,
extort money
yeah,
from
yeah.
the owners of the Chinese restaurant there, and how he puts them in his place because he's
Enter the
like,
Dragon.
This was not Enter the Dragon.
I don't remember the name of the movie
Same,
actually.
same. Yeah, yeah,
But
but I've seen this movie,
the
but yeah.
70s, yeah. And of course,
So,
Food Wars came into my mind because you said it's about
Culinary
culinary.
stuff.
Yeah,
yeah. So
very
Bijoy
interesting.
is a big fan of those pulpy Hong Kong action films,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think those are called wuxia or something. So
Um,
No idea.
yeah, so like he's going to put in a little flavor of that in the story as well. Like we have put in some flavor of that in the story, and I mean it's a very personal story for me because it's set in Arunachal, and then the original idea came from me, and yeah, so I'm very excited for it, and this is going to be my first creator-owned project as well. Me and Bijoy, we plan to take it to Image. We'll pitch it to Image or other publishers who publish internationally. If that doesn't go through, I mean, if we are not fortunate enough to get picked up by an international publisher, then we plan to maybe crowdfund it or self-publish it. That's what we plan. But the book is going to come out. Most probably, I will be done with the first issue by the next 4 or 5 months, I think. I'm doing it side by side with my other commitments, so it's taking a little
well,
bit of time. But yeah,
So we can expect it by the end of this year or the early next year, maybe.
I mean, I will be done with the book by the end of this year, I think, much before, maybe October or November, much before December for sure. So after that, I don't know. Like, if we do land a publisher, then they decide when they want to like bring out the book. But then, if we don't, then maybe early next year we'll try to get the book out.
uh,
Totally looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, I must say, like, this is like probably uh, one of the most fun books and exciting projects that I have been part of, and I'm really having a blast working on the pages, and I'm sure you guys will enjoy it when it
yeah.
comes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to understand this better, like you have to finish the book and then pitch it to Image or Dark Horse or any other publication that you want to go to.
Not necessarily. I mean, every publisher has a different model that they accept their submissions through. Image, they only require 5, 6 pages on the pitch, I think, if somebody is trying to pitch to them. But then what we have decided is we want to do at least the first issue, and then
Yeah,
so that if somebody asks, like, do you have something more, like, we would like
Mhm.
to more of this, then so that we have something ready, right? So that we can just
makes sense.
immediately send to them. So.
Absolutely. I think that makes sense to have at least the first issue there and, maybe like end it on a cliffhanger so people are like really rooting to see what's going to happen next. And I think in the last couple of years, a lot of independent places have come up. Publishing house like Keen Spot is doing Mark Spear's Monster. That is I think, a good place to also possibly, try your pitch. You never know. Image, of course, is a huge, big place for sure. They have this, so many great books which are amazing and very different. So
Yeah.
Ram B works extensively with them as well. So
Boom Studios as well.
Boom
Yeah.
Studio as well.
Okay, Boom Studio, I think they don't like accept unsolicited solicited submissions. they ask other people like all creators who are already big to submit to them, I
Yeah.
think. But then Dark Horse is
Oh,
there, and there are a couple other publishers who like accept direct submission. Image is the
Mm.
biggest one of them, of course, and my favorite publisher of the current time. So yeah, I hope we make it to Image. Fingers crossed.
let's hope so. And frankly speaking, to us, it doesn't even matter because
Yeah.
there is Bijoy in the writing and there is Tadam in the artistic
Yeah.
field. So it's not gonna be like it's gonna be well of average. That's for sure. It might be mind blowing, but I'll hold my horses until I read it first. So
Yeah.
yeah, publisher is not a big deal for us. You guys
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
The book is going to come out for sure. Next year, I mean, even if we don't land a publisher, I think we are going to self-publish it. And Bijoy is like the writing is not the factor that will delay the book. Art is the factor mostly. But then I plan to like if we self-publish, like if we land a publisher, then anyway the book is going to come out. All the parts are going to come out next year. Even if we don't land a publisher, I plan to do all the like the complete story, finish all the art books of the complete story by next year only. So anyhow, I think we'll be releasing the book by next year. Yeah.
Fantastic. So now the lead up question to this is like, how did Black Sheep come about? What's the idea behind that, and what's the future for Black Sheep?
Okay. So I am super inspired by the story, by the origin of Image Comics, right? Artists, creatives coming together to form their own publisher, and then where they control the rights, right?
Yeah.
And they reap the fruits of whatever creative seeds that they sow. So similar idea behind that. We do have like publishers which are owned by creative. Holy Cow is one of them. Vivek Goel is a creative himself, and he has his own publisher. But then, if I keep working for other publishers, I don't own any IP, right? I don't have my own a lot of say in the creative process or anything. I just get the script and then I draw it, right? I do it for the money. But then I feel a comic book artist, especially in India, cannot retire just doing that kind of work, right? So we need
Correct.
something that we can call our own. Maybe someday, if it gets adapted to a different medium, then we can at least, uh, maybe financially we can count on that. Yeah, there will be something that we can like say, okay, with this I can retire maybe someday. So
Yeah,
kind of like
absolutely. It's long-term passive income idea,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
I hope
yes,
it
yes.
will work well in your favor.
Yeah. Also, another excuse for this was like working independently with Vijay, just being a part of the stories and brainstorming with him, and then um, just doing our own thing basically, with total creative freedom. So we are not in a rush currently. We are just taking our own sweet time to develop like good books and yeah. So in the future, we have, if you guys have seen the announcement post of Blacksheep, we announced four titles. Those were TCL, which is already out, Technicolor Levels, volume issue one is already out, and then the next one is Druk, which I'm currently working on, and then we have Tales from the Deep, which is an anthology. So I think right after or simultaneously with Druk or right after I'm done with Druk, we'll like go like jump on that project with full force. And there is one more called OM or AUM, you can say. So it's in a very developmental phase right now. But currently, mine and Bijoy's total focus is on Druk, developing the project why he's writing like Technicolor Lovers Reel 2 on the side.
Yeah. Fantastic. Lots to look forward to now. Like, hopefully, you guys will be able to emulate your benchmark of Image Comics. Like, I remember reading, a few years ago, reading about how Image came to be with all the best of the best writers and
Yeah.
artists coming together. Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld,
Yeah.
I mean Jim Lee, and they came up with their own stuff, and like it's a legend, and
Yeah, and
it
there
makes
were
sense
so
for
many ups and
every
downs
generation.
as well.
Yeah.
Like they went bankrupt at one point, and then Robert Kirkman soared with The Walking Dead, then
Yeah.
Invincible, and they again, like I had watched their entire documentary, and I was so inspired. I made a dedicated video on Image Comics history on this Neo Comics channel itself about 4 or 5 years back. So yeah, I totally look forward to them, and I also wish that Black Sheep will achieve something similar, if not even greater, in the near future. At least in Indian level, they can, and I totally see the potential.
And
So yeah.
another thing is like we do plan to invite other creatives from the Indian comic scene as well to like collaborate and contribute to Black Sheep. Most probably we'll come up with some anthology where I get to like we get to collaborate with other writers and artists of who are currently active in the Indian comic book scene. Yeah.
That's
Great.
nice.
So, yeah, any creative watching this, you know what you need to do if you want to be a part of this creator-owned wagon. With that being said, Tadam, I'll now come to a very difficult question, and that is, out of all the artworks that you have done thus far, say pinups, commissions, which one would you call has been your favorite piece till date? Like, yeah, you had the most fun and you were most satisfied with the outcome.
That's a tough one actually.
Very tough.
Uh,
It's like asking which one is your favorite child out of the 10 that you have birthed.
yeah, yeah.
एक तो होता है
So
favorite.
yeah.
Uh,
Uh, I don't know. I have a very soft spot for Codename Alpha because उस बुक ने मेरे को मतलब बहुत सारे लोगों के सामने पहुंचाया एंड देन आई थिंक अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल discovered my work after reading that book and they started following me and then uh, uh, kind of like made a
I
partnership.
loved that cover of where he was drinking on the rooftop, and I was like,
Mm.
this is the same artist who drew Adrishya Shadayandra, and this is how far he has come. Like, I'm not like I'm telling you the difference in the prowess that he exhibited between these two, just mind-boggling.
Yeah, so that one is I would say is my favorite. Yeah. So
Okay.
I feel like I did that cover back in 2021, I think, and it's been 5 years since I finished that cover, and I think it still holds up. कभी usually क्या
Yeah,
होता है ना मैं काम देखता हूँ अपना and I feel कि ये इसमें तो बहुत सारी गलतियां हैं and all that. I start seeing mistakes and I feel कि यहाँ अच्छा हो सकता था यहाँ अच्छा हो सकता था and I sometimes feel disgusted by looking at that. Okay, well, how did I do that? But then with that cover, I feel it doesn't happen. Whenever I look at it, I think, okay, I did a good job there, and I'm proud to say that okay, अगले 20-30 सालों के बाद भी maybe I would I would be able to show it and then say, कि, yeah, this is something that I have done way back when, and I'm still proud of it. So yeah,
yeah, I love the detailing, the perspective, the foreshortening, that everything clicked so well, the composition. And whoever did the colors, I don't remember, did a fantastic job with the coloring as well. Tracy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So, we spoke a lot about Druk, which you're working on currently, code names Alpha. He spoke about Spider-Man India, obviously. So, I want to know, like, your next future projects, like these are the ones you're actively working on, like, no, like Druk is one you're working on actively. Outside this, what are the other projects you're doing? And is there any plans for a Spider-Man India sequel?
Okay, I'll answer your last question first. So unfortunately, there are no further plans for Spider-Man India at the moment. I think it was meant to be a mini series, and the story, the what the writer Nikesh was trying to tell in the story, I think he did it within
Mm.
the 5 issues that came out. And maybe if somebody else comes up with something interesting with the character, then maybe Marvel will plan for the issue.
Mm.
Or usually what happens, Marvel puts out comic books of the characters which are going to get movies released
Mm.
along with the like simultaneously, right? Comics and movies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe the next uh, movie, the next part of Into the Spider-Verse, what's it called? Beyond the
Beyond the
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse.
When that one is coming out, maybe then they will plan another series,
Yeah.
So that kind of helps them market the comic as well as the movie. So
Yeah.
maybe that might happen. Same.
Yeah.
So apart from that, currently I'm working on Druk very actively, and I'm working on this very interesting project for Swayambhu Comics called Badri. It's a 40-page standalone comic, and I'm also doing two short stories for this anthology for Alpha Comics called Manasa. One story is written by Sahil Sharma, very experimental story, and even from art perspective, right? I have never tried something like that, so it's very interesting. And the second story that I'll be doing for them in the anthology for Alpha Comics is with Ron Mars. I think I'll receive the script in a few days, so yeah, excited for that as well. Ron Mars is a legend, and I feel fortunate that I am getting the chance to collaborate with him. Apart from that, there is one more project that I'm currently working on, and that is for Hierophant Entertainment. Soumya Das, right? Who came up with the Violated
Yes.
and the recent Legend of the Ramayana figurine.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Great.
yeah, he's also producing comic books, and I'm doing a Bali comic for him.
Interesting.
That's nice.
So, yeah, these
Interesting
are
stuff.
4 5 things that I'm juggling with currently.
That's
You
No,
you
quite
told us.
understandably so.
Huh?
I was
Quite
saying like
understandably so. We both are clashing time and again. I will let Pranay proceed.
No, no, I was actually moving towards a question which I had. In fact, like when we started, like when we came to know that, you're going to be on our show, it's something which was like how much actual time, like, does an artist get to do the final layout sketch? I mean, like, of course, inking, if you're going to do then with inking, the number of days that you get from a time, because there is also other processes that needs to be done later on, coloring, lettering, etc., and then it needs to get published. What's the real time that you get to do a single issue?
Mm, oh, do you mean for Indian publishers or
uh,
international?
for you said for Indian publisher there is more time because we're not trying to come out with the monthly comic, but
Yeah, they
say
are
for
flexible with the deadlines.
yeah,
mm.
but for somebody where there's a deadline, then how much time do you actually have?
They usually give you, now again, it depends on how soon they want the book, but ideally they give you some 40 days to finish a
Okay.
22-page comic with pencils and ink. So that is around a little less than 2 days a page, I think.
Yes, that's what the math says.
Yeah.
Sounds
So,
very
and
less.
it's very tough for me to
Yes.
meet that deadline because it takes me, I can do like 1.5 page in 3 days. So, with pencils and ink. So, I mean, I'm kind of slow. So, it gets really tough for me whenever I'm doing something for Marvel because then I have to have like sleepless nights and loads of coffee to, stay awake.
No, with the level of artwork you're putting, 1.5 days, like 1.5 page in 3 days sounds not that slow to be very honest. It's like
Yeah.
very reasonable amount of time one needs to take.
Yeah.
If you like consider I'm taking like maybe a day off in a week, then I think I only do what 12 to 15 pages a month. Yeah,
Oh,
12 pages. I mean, if I work comfortably.
and how much time do you dedicate every day towards extensively commercial comic book making?
Okay, I don't count the hours, but I think on an average 8 to 10 hours at least. And that like that time is not exclusively for comics. That also includes like 1 hour of doing some studies, random sketches, um, um, a little bit of scrolling, I guess, on Instagram. but that shouldn't that should only account for like half an hour or 45 minutes of that time, I think. So at least 6.5 hours, I think I'm dedicating out of that 8 hours that I spend on my work desk. Sometimes it's more if I'm feeling like I'm in the groove, and then I don't feel like giving up on the page.
Yeah,
Sometimes I
because
spend, yeah,
creativity is a very moody thing also. Like you have to be in mood to be very productive.
yeah.
Some days are
So
not the same.
yeah.
Yeah.
I used to suffer from that mood thing a lot. Uh, some 4 5 years back, I think, right after I got out of college. Like college mein to I had an excuse ki, okay, I have to go to classes and do my college assignments as well. So I can maybe put off the work for some other time. I have this excuse ki chalo mera assignment hai, main baad mein karta hu ye wala kaam. But then right after college, I got used to that feeling, okay, I'm not feeling like doing this right now, so let me, delegate it like for some other time. Then I realized, okay, I'm delivering the project very late, and that is somehow like affecting my relations with the publishers, right? My clients. And then I actively started fighting that feeling, and then forcing myself to sit on the desk even if I'm not doing anything, at least like just do some scribbles and all that. So then I started watching a lot of productivity videos and books, reading books as well. So I think I have um, achieved success 70-80% on that, I feel. There are days when I procrastinate a lot and then I don't draw at all. But most of the time it doesn't happen anymore. I can just, come to the desk and then I'm just ready to work.
Because with great
That's
power
great.
comes great responsibility.
Exactly.
Correct, correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's great. I mean, like I think that possibly seems like the biggest obstacle that artist can face is procrastination, or even a writer for that matter.
Anyone
Possibly
who
in the head,
works,
you know that you
basically.
can do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, there is this writer's block, a term that
Yeah.
writers often
Yeah.
go through. So, as
Yeah,
Tadam said, some days he doesn't just like it happens with the creatives, from what I know. And
Yeah.
this is something very human.
Yeah.
true, true. Except if you're a doctor, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. So I
Absolutely
feel
agreed.
when somebody's having that writer's block or artist, that creative block, right? I think if you like actively fight against it, and then okay, first accept, okay, you're not in the mood for that. First accept it, and then like actively try and do something about it. I feel slowly you can overcome that, and the days you procrastinate will, diminish slowly. So for me,
Mind game, basically.
yeah. For me, now the days when I feel that artist block comes maybe once in 6 months, maybe that too when I'm like working very, very hard and then I'm on the level of burnout. I feel when I burn
Hmm.
out, that's when like I usually procrastinate. So if I
Mhm.
keep my creative juices flowing, I keep watching movies and it's like increasing your visual vocabulary, right? If I'm
Mm.
reading some very interesting stuff, reading great comics, watching great movies, feeding my creative hunger, right? I don't feel
Mhm.
burned out at all. I feel like okay, I need to create and all that. Especially when so I shifted to my hometown and now I have a very favorable environment, right? I have greenery around the kind of space that I like. I have my books around, and then I'm all alone here. Nobody could like come into my so-called bubble and then disrupt the equilibrium that I have. So I feel like I'm in the most productive phase of my life right now. Yeah,
Yeah. The creative energy is definitely oozing.
yeah, yeah.
You can see some sketches in your background also now.
This one, this one is
Yeah.
actually a page from Druk. I hope
Oh,
it's not
Ah.
bad.
no. Yeah. So,
Super.
like we now just spoke so much about writer's block or the creative block that artists experience, and it like Manish Bhai was saying, it's a very humane thing that it will happen for anyone from any field when they're in the zone. But like for artists, I have tried drawing like sometimes as well. I do some sketches, but I have never gone for any formal classes or anything. And I very largely depend on a reference image to draw. it has been very, very rare that I can, conceptualize something and that actually translates equally well on paper. So for people like for me or for just for any beginners, what would you advise for them to get to that level of proficiency where they can just pen down what they're thinking?
I think my suggestion would be to learn the basics. By basics, I mean like, the process of learning how to become an artist, right? How to draw. That involves getting a good grasp on the gestures of a human gestures and the basics of human anatomy and all that. I feel once you learn that and then you practice enough to like drawing different poses and then from different angles, I think then you slowly gain that ability to just imagine the human figure from any angle, and then you can like put that vision on the paper. So I feel if you are an aspiring artist, USK or anyone who wants to like draw, I feel if you read or like watch tutorials where they teach the basics of human anatomy, and the it usually involves imagining the any object or human figure that you are looking at in simple shapes that is circles and squares and cubes and all that. So I feel once you are able to master that, then you can draw anything that you imagine.
Right.
So it
That sounds
also
like a
depends.
sound blueprint.
It also depends on the person, like how much aptitude that they have towards the craft and how much time they are able to dedicate, So some
True.
people learn very quickly and some people like, they take some time. But then I feel it's nothing that can't be learned, It's a
Hmm.
skill and with enough practice, anybody can draw.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even I was thinking that like if you know the basics, then I think the if you keep on practicing, then that's how you will kind of become better. Like in school, I remember I used to do a lot of sketching, but and I was pretty good as well. But post that, like I stopped doing that. So now, if I have to do it, then I am again back to the
Well,
earlier level. Like if you
Yeah.
practice for a longer time, then you get the grasp of it.
yeah.
It's all about practice.
Yeah.
You will relearn quickly because there is a thing called muscle memory. So
Exactly.
hopefully, if
Yeah.
that kicks in, it will take much lesser time.
Yeah, I sometimes do the like line drawing of superheroes. Like I have a very small neighbor's kid who loves superheroes. So I do the sketch outline
Uh,
for him and he does the coloring
Hmm.
inside. So like after the first 2 or 3 times, it becomes easier for me to
Yeah.
do a much better job.
Yeah.
got it. Even I worked in a very amateurish level for a couple of Indian publishers, and Tadam Bhai had been a great help, towards guiding and rectifying some of my newbie mistakes.
No, but I feel it's very, I really appreciate the fact that you guys try to draw and, also, I mean, Manish, he even has a published cover, right? You did a cover for Pratilipi for
Yeah,
their
for
comic.
Pratilipi, there is one published, there is one under Fiction Comics, another unpublished under Swapnil Comics, and another one unpublished. So, a very amateur level. It was back in my latter college days. I was just trying to, taste the waters. But then I realized I'll have to practice a lot to be professional, and I could not really make the time for it. So I had to, give up midway.
I was saying that it becomes that much more interesting to read comics when you have like some experience of drawing or writing.
Yeah.
Uh, for me, since I have been learning cinematography and composition and lighting and all of that, so watching movies like becomes that much more interesting for me.
Hmm.
When I watch movies, then um, I really appreciate some shots, right? How they
Yeah.
arrange the lighting and how where they place the characters and the objects. So I also like I recently I have been dabbling with writing a bit, and I have been trying to learn the basics of creative writing and all of that. So now I can appreciate the kind of language writers use, especially comic book writers, the kind of visual description that they write for artists and all that. I feel the appreciation for that. You can appreciate those things on a different level.
Yeah.
So you guys,
100%.
artists and trying to draw and all that. I feel it must like elevate the experience of reading a comic book that much more, right?
True, true. I mean, like I remember in school, like drawing was my favorite subject. In fact, like it kind of helped me a lot as well when I was growing up. But after once I came into college, then like the focuses shift, the times are the hobbies kind of take a back seat. But knowing something else or knowing a creative aspect of it definitely helps you. Like I come from the advertising field, so like I'm always curious about news stories or movies that are made in a very different, quirky manner. That's something which always appeals to me. So I am looking for stuff which I have not seen or not experienced, and that is what drives us to do more, search more, read more, and in your case, like draw in a different style or draw more as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Continuing that topic, what I can say is, before I started, working for comic books in sequential artwork, my reading experience was different. But when I got this insight about how it is exactly done, the procedure, my outlook changed a lot towards analyzing and scrutinizing a comic book. So yeah, having a creative insight definitely helps to appreciate this medium better.
Yeah.
Very well said. Yeah, I think that's what Tadam also was saying, that if you have dabbled, then it will really help you appreciate the art that much more.
It's
And
because previously, even in my review videos, also I used to be very cutthroat, like too blatant, too candid, and then I realized this might hurt some, budding creatives, very demoralizing for some. So I became very politically correct, and that has offended some of my follower base because they wanted that rawness. But now I realize, as I said, with great power comes great responsibilities. So I will not say, a bad artwork as a good one, but I will choose appreciate or give some positive constructive criticism on which that particular creative can work upon, and that way it's not very
Mm,
demoralizing for them as well, and also it's not unfair for the readers or the viewers who are watching my videos.
correct. Critique,
yeah.
that's the word for it. Positively
Critique.
saying things that help everybody.
And I think the thing is, in India, arts is still looked as like a hobby. It is not really
Yeah.
Yeah.
viewed with as a proper full-time profession. And I think even for that, that awareness of what goes into the process is needed for everyone, because not just for creative artists and for people who are working in the industry, even for laymen, they need to, for them to appreciate. Like we saw in Farsi, Shahid Kapoor is doing, he's putting his heart out trying to make that artwork. But the moment people think it's a first copy or replica, they will go because they think it's just a reprint. But if he puts his own original artwork, they don't go for it at all.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
also what I love about Tadam is he's changing this perspective that art is not just an hobby; it can be a full-time, successful profession. And what I also love about him is that he also takes out this time to talk about stuff, be active on social media, be very open and frank about it, so that more people can get educated. Many people are just focused on their work, but he is actually doing some genuine social service by expressing his experiences.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
it in person, no? I mean, just sit down and maybe grab a couple of drinks and then
Yeah.
talk about it. I really love
Yeah,
that.
Oh,
That is
if
my
that was an
that.
option, this won't be happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, the
Will.
thing is, like all of us, like all four of us, and I say this, I think in every podcast possibly, that we all love comics, and that's what kind of binds us, connects us, and like we love talking about books and comics and our experiences, and they are like extremely diverse and rich. And meeting people, who are genuinely so passionate about it is fantastic because in your regular lives, at least where we work or our friend circle, people, I don't have uh, people who are that passionately into comics. They know about comics, of course, but nobody is that into it. So it's so great to kind of, find people who are, and if there was a possibility, because all of us are geographically so diverse, it's just not
Yeah.
possible to meet. But if there was a possibility, I would love to meet you guys. I mean,
Yeah.
मुझे लगता है कि we could spend easily half a day just talking and talking
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
about various
Absolutely.
things.
And that's the best aspect of Comic Con, you know. That's why I love
Mhm.
going to Comic Con and talking to fellow enthusiasts and then connecting with fellow artists, creatives, and it's so fun.
Yeah, yeah. Comic cons except Kolkata Comic Con, right?
Dude, last time नहीं हो पाया. This time I'm coming there definitely. अगर मैंने टेबल भी नहीं लिया ना, तो I think I'll just come there as a visitor.
Yeah, Chariot Comics table will be there for you. There will be a table at Sanjay sir's booth as well. So they will be more than happy to have you.
Even if you come for half a day, I'm sure Dr. Manish will be like very happy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have been looking forward to this meeting for so long, and then he said he'll not be attending the Kolkata Comic Con. I was like, "Arey, yeah. Long distance relationship problems."
Are you guys married? I mean, just a very personal question. I don't know. So,
No,
Mm, I am not. I'm a bachelor.
Same here. I'm too young to be married right now.
what about you, Tadam?
no, I'm single as well.
Oh my God, all of you guys are single. I'm the only married person here.
So all the
No,
girls
but
watching are
yeah,
single,
no,
I repeat.
but we don't mind. I mean, we are all friends, married or not.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just suddenly, I think, I don't know why, I never asked this question. Although at the back of my mind, I knew
Mm.
that Dr. Manish and SK would not have been married. In our conversations, also somehow it never came out. So,
Mm.
but I was not sure because I had never asked this question. I was like, might as well पूछ लेता हूँ वही.
No exclusive reveals on the Nameless Comics
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. People are getting way more than they bargained for.
Hmm.
Anyway, so for all of you who stuck along so long and watched this, so thank you for sticking out for so long. You can hit the like button and share this with your friends, and you can obviously subscribe to all of our channels, and stay tuned for more of our updated work. And if you enjoy this conversation, because I know we all four of us enjoyed this conversation, we can definitely regroup someday for a part two, maybe.
Absolutely, totally looking forward to it.
Part two would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go.
Give us likes for part two.
Part two. Okay, with that note, let's catch you all next time.
Cool, cool.
Yeah, and
Bye.
thank you so much, guys, for having me on your channel. And as always, it's such a pleasure to be able to talk about comics with you all. So yeah, once again,
Pleasure
thank you.
is ours.
Yeah, pleasure to have you
Absolutely.
here. I didn't think we all four
Uh,
would enjoy and hit it off so greatly.
Hmm.
Yeah,
cool.
So yeah.
Chalo, thank you guys.
yeah.
Thank you, Tadam.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. And yeah, hopefully we will be able to do it offline in person.
Yes, I
Yes,
hope so.
one day. Yeah.
I prefer that. Absolutely.